This is Electric Universe Eyes, and today, the following will be from the late Anthony Larson, entitled The Origins of Kingship. A central feature of nearly every ancient and medieval society was kingship, rule by divinely appointed kings, an institution whose origins are lost in the mists of time. In the view of the ancient Egyptians, kingship was coextensive in time with the world itself. One, to the Sumerians, kingship was a gift of the gods. Indeed, as one scholar has recently noted, quote, chronicles of kingship from Egypt to Mesopotamia to Persia to China to Italy to northern Europe to pre-Columbian Mexico all trace the line of kings to the first king, a supreme cosmic deity who founded the kingship rights. The accounts of the creation speak of a creator, a first man, and a first king, all referring to the same cosmic figure. End quote. The heart star, Kolob, the planet Saturn. Thus, the Hebrew Sabbath, the seventh day of the week, was the day of Saturn, and they named the sun accordingly. So was the seventh and most sacred day of the Babylonian and Phoenician weeks. For the Romans, this commemorative day was Saturnides, Saturn's day. The same day passed into the Anglo-Saxon calendar as the Day of Satur, or Saturn, which became our own Saturday. At one point, the Hebrews regarded their race as having been Saturnian in the beginning, when they lived under the rule of the creator El. That is, the Hebrews honored the same ancestral tie to Saturn as did the Romans. According to the great Jewish scholar Emanuel Velikovsky, even the name Israel means the people of Saturn. Is, or Isis, the Egyptian goddess. Ra, Egyptian sun god. El, Canaanite, Chaldeans' sun god. Altogether is Israel. Israel. The Egyptians called their god Ra, the creator king. For the Sumerians it was the high god On, from whom kingship descended. Similarly, the Hindu Brahma, the Chinese Huang Ti, Mexican Quetzalcoatl, Mayan Itzamna, and numerous counterparts among other nations all preside over a paradisal epoch, while establishing the ideals and principles of kingship. Chaldeans called Saturn, or God, El. This is where Abraham received it, yet Abraham knew who truly deserved the name, type and shadow. Abraham was then told by God to go teach the Egyptians who Kolob, the Saturn configuration, was a type for Jesus Christ. Thus worshiping the hosts of heaven is an abomination. But the greatest of all the stars is like God. This is who we worship, the Creator, not the creation. He goes on to write, this quote is from David Talbott, from the Electric Universe, Thunderbolts Project, and the Saturn Myth, in a paper titled The Origins of Myth, Ritual, Symbolism, and Religious History. He gives a great summary of the things we just discussed. How old, then, is this ancient memory of a lost paradise? In their myths, rites, and hymns, the ancient Sumerians contrasted their own time to the earliest remembered age, what they called the days of old, or that day, when the gods gave man abundance, the day when vegetation flourished. This was when the supreme god On engendered the year of abundance. To this primeval age, every Sumerian priest looked back as the reference for the preferred order of things which was lost through later conflict and deluge. In the city of Eridu, at the mouth of the Euphrates, the priests recalled a golden age prior to familiar history. The predecessors of their race, it was claimed, had formerly reposed in the paradise of Dilmun, called the pure place of man's genesis. This lost paradise of Dilmun, about which scholars have debated for decades, is strangely reminiscent of the paradise of Eden. That place was pure, that place was clean. In Dilmun the lion mangled not, The wolf ravaged not the lambs, the Sumerian texts read. The inhabitants of this paradise lived in a state of near perfection, in communion with the gods, drinking the waters of life and enjoying unabounded prosperity. Ancient Egypt, an acknowledged cradle of civilization, preserved a remarkably similar memory, not just in their religious and mythical texts, but in every sacred activity. The Egyptians incessantly looked backwards to events of the Zep Tepi. The phrase means the first time, a time of perfection, before rage or clamor or strife or uproar had come about, as the texts themselves put it. This was the paradise of Ra, and the memories of that time echoed throughout centuries of Egyptian thought. Quote, "The land was in abundance," the texts say. "There was no year of hunger. Walls did not fall. Thorns did not pierce in the time of the primeval gods." End quote. Or from another text, "There was no unrighteousness in the land, no crocodile seized, no snake bit in the time of the first gods." Cosmic harmony, abundance, paradise on earth. To this paradisal, according to the great 19th century scholar Francois Lenormand, the Egyptians, quote, "continually looked back with regret and envy." End quote. The golden age of Ra was, for the Egyptians, the great example setting a standard for all later ages. The legend of the Golden Age, or ancient paradise, is as old as civilization, and the implications are well worth pondering. A coherent set of ideas has survived all of the twists and turns of cultural evolution for at least 5,000 years, and on every continent. Now that's an astonishing verification of the durability of myth. Many of us had always thought of myth as the outcome of reckless invention, illiterate savages entertaining themselves by contriving magical stories out of nothing. Imagine such a process going on for thousands of years and ask yourself if any possibility of a universal memory would remain. Bear in mind that the mythmakers did not just recount a charming tale, they strove desperately to recover what was lost. In the infancy of civilization, collective activity reflects a singular reference to the age of the gods, the honoring of the gods through celebration, representation, reenactment, codification, and massive construction activity. In fact, there are numerous grounds for saying that civilization itself was the outcome of this fundamentally religious activity. Perhaps the most accomplished analyst of mythology in modern times was the late Mircea Eliade, chairman of the Department of History of Religions at the University of Chicago and editor of the Encyclopedia of Religion. From his meticulous, lifelong survey of the subject, Professor Eliade drew a stunning conclusion. Literally every component of early civilizations, from a religion to art and architecture, expressed symbolically the desire to recover and to relive the lost golden age. That which symbolically transported the participant back to the first time, the golden age, was sacred. That which did not was transient and mundane, of no interest. The role of this memory in the ancient cultures carries vast implications for our understanding of the events that provoked human imagination in the myth-making epoch. Early man yearned for a return to paradise. Every coronation of a king, every New Year's festival, monumental construction, every recitation of temple hymns and prayers, every holy war, every sacrifice to the gods was motivated by a desire to recapture some aspect of the Golden Age, to live, if only for a symbolic moment, in that enchanted opening chapter in the Book of Gods and Wonders. Through festivals and symbolic rites, the entire ancient world remembered the lives of the gods, who are identified as the planets currently residing within our solar system. Joseph explains this in his explanations of the facsimiles. The Egyptian gods were the planets, stars, and sun, all one and the same to the ancient world. Every coronation of a king, every New Year festival, every monument, every temple, every text, every sacrifice, every harvest, every marriage, every recitation of temple hymns and prayers, all express symbolically the desire to recover, recapture, and to relive the lost golden age. It was all commemorative. It was always looking back to the golden age, paradise, Garden of Eden, to the age of gods and wonders. If you remove the events that I am referring to, you wouldn't have any content of early civilization left. In closing, in just a few days, Saturnalia will be upon us. With that said, Christmas is upon us. We hang our Oranos wreaths, and we put up our cosmic Christmas tree, a green mountain with a star on top, and celebrate the Festival of Lights.